Service Alliance community. How y'all doing today? Alongside me, brother Doug. What's up, man?
Good morning. I love gray sky Mondays. That's the bar.
I don't even know
low
what
for
color sky
success.
is right now.
You don't know. You're in the dark dungeon of the Kreider home.
I am.
Yeah. It's I visited once, and it's those 9 staircases going down that made me a little nervous. But you apocalyptic preppers are interesting, you know. So
Yeah, you don't want to see our real basement staircase. It's terrifying. 70s were a weird time. Morning, Jeremy. Morning, Adam. What's up? You have a good weekend?
We did our company summer gathering at the lake. That was fun.
Nice.
We've been doing it a really long time, but it's, we've had some turnover and change over the last 5 to 10 years, and so it's a whole different crowd, a little bit younger. So we'll probably need to hire like some hip people to work for us to just make us older people look cool and exciting. So in the past, people would stick around, maybe even stay overnight and camp there. And this year, kind of all tidied and wrapped up after about 5-6 hours. So I was like, I kind of like that too. But it's interesting how, as the team changes, things change. Things that used to work, aren't as successful. Or it was very successful, but not like,
right.
People would say,
different type of success
Friday so that I can get my tent set up, and then the holiday party would be Saturday, afternoon, and then we'd let them stay overnight Sunday. So it's kind of like a whole weekend away. But this year, nobody wanted to camp. So for a minute, I was like, I don't think anyone likes us. But I just realized it's a different group of people. They're willing to travel an hour to the location and travel an hour home, and it's different. Got to roll with the punches, right?
Yeah. Pivot.
Yeah.
Pivot. Nice. I did a little training ride yesterday.
150 miles?
No, yesterday was a 30-miler. 100-degree heat index. Waited till 4:30 in the afternoon to do that. So little over 2 hours on the bike in 100-degree heat. It actually was a little bit cooler than that by the time I started riding, because I caught some shade. So you
got a lot of momentum going now as you're planning for a race, right? So on a scale of 1 to 10 yesterday, what was your momentum? Like how interested were you in doing that ride Saturday?
This coming Saturday, like
this past one, yeah.
On Sunday, not interested at all.
It was like a 1 or a 2.
Well, so we went to a baseball game Saturday night, which was a ton of fun. I got a friend that works for the minor league organization. He's like, hey, here you go, tickets. Just go buy a beer or something, because that's the only way we make money. And so we went. We took a kid, and she had a great time. Caught a foul ball, just super super cool, super fun.
Yeah.
But by the time we got to bed, it's like 11 o'clock at night.
Right.
And then I got to be up to work.
A
live stream in the morning at the church. And so I was struggle busing, and we got home from that at like noon. I'm like, I don't want to do anything today. Took my little Sunday afternoon nap, and I'm like, I'm just going to sit in this recliner all day.
Right.
And the day's going on, and I'm like, I didn't do a training ride yesterday, and it's either Saturday or Sunday. Like, I don't have a choice. I have a training ride.
Yeah.
I don't want to go and ride. All right, I gotta go and like you almost have to like talk yourself into. It's like anything, right? Like it's any of the principles that we teach here. Sometimes you have to actually like talk yourself into to doing it. Once I'm out there, I'm fine, but it's just it's putting on the shoes.
I think that's the key right there, Zach. Once you get out there, then you'll finish up what you plan. But I am really, that's probably the weakest part of me right there is, on the weekend especially, right? At work, I get in the grind, and then it's just, I can persevere and not get too distracted. But a weekend and what you went through Friday night into Saturday, and then Sunday working at church, that would have never happened for me. So that's impressive, Zach. So
never say never, because I was the guy that
get out there, it'll be all right. And you just
I was the guy that said never. I was the guy
right.
that said never. So.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, no, it's I mean, there is something to be said about that, and that kind of goes into the topic that we're talking today, clarity. I mean, like my goals are clear. They're set. My training plan is clear. And so I always have that to fall back on when I don't want to, like, because here's the thing, everyone's like, oh, I just need more willpower, I just need more motivation. Bullshit. I mean, motivation and willpower, they're going to fail you. If I was reliant on either of those yesterday, my butt would have stayed in that recliner and not gotten out. But I knew what the plan was. I knew what happens if I don't stick to the plan.
Yeah.
And I know how I'm going to feel on Saturday after riding 50 miles because I didn't do all my training rides. I didn't do my taper. I didn't do my build up. So,
I think it does help to be clear. Goal for myself, because I could see myself in the next few weekends having that, being in that, not riding a bike. That would be stupid. But, where I'm going to talk myself out of doing something that will make the family better, make the house better, make me better, get me into something, that hobby that I never had, right? I could easily tell myself, not now. So I'm going to set a goal 3 times. When I'm in the Zach zone, I need to empower you. The power of Zach. I'm going to go for a walk and a hike with the dog, whatever it is, the thing that I just dread to do. But I know that once I get started, as you said. So, all right, 3 times, and then I'll see if that cures me. It probably won't, but it maybe
it's
going for me,
It's like I said on my post on my wall last night. You got to be consistent, right? You can stay stuck or you can be consistent. And it's not doing anything huge. I mean, 30 miles is kind of like, my normal is 14 and my most is 50 at the moment. And so it's like in that middle pocket. It's really not hard at this point for me. And so it's just a matter of being consistent. Do I want to keep doing these things day in and day out? And again, any of the principles that we're talking to you guys and gals about on the podcast, like, it's consistency. It's not these grandiose things. Like, I've talked about it before. When I did my half marathon, I'm doing this 50-mile bike race. Like, it's not, I just go out and I do, like, there's steps to get to this, right? Like, doing my half marathon, it was 1 mile at a time. Like, my training, my first week of 12 weeks of training is like, hey, go and run 2 miles and then come back and just, kind of take it easy. Like, there's just little building blocks that you build on. I didn't go out and just ride 50 miles. Like, it took some time to build up to that. So any of these principles we're teaching in the mornings, they're no different. It's small, consistent habits repeated. Small, consistent habits repeated. And pretty soon you're like, oh, hey, I didn't even remember that.
Well, I was thinking the other way around. You can look back and go, look how far I've gotten from when I first said I want to do this, and look forward and say, I'm almost at the starting line of the next race, which is next Saturday. So I could see the encouragement looking back and the momentum of striving to move forward. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. Just small, little consistent action makes a big difference.
I've never sweat thinking about exercise. So it's close. I feel like I get a little tacky, but I'm not. All right, let me pray this in.
Yep.
Good morning, Lord. You have gifted each one of us with life, and you don't want us to live life with regret. You don't want us to feel guilty. You don't want us to do good things and make the most of our day because you were generous with the gift. Lord, you live in us and you're around us and you fill us with joy. And when we do good things in your name, your spirit fills us. And so, Lord, we just pray that we seek joy every day, joy and happiness. And in that, Lord, we will appreciate the preciousness of every second and minute and hour and day and year in our lives. And so, Lord, I lift up Zach to you for the upcoming race. I pray that you keep him safe as he continues to train. I pray that when he's finished, that he has a sense of peace and accomplishment. And Lord, we just pray that in this race, that this effort that he puts into it will feed into his life with his daughter and his wife and his family and his work and his friends in this community. And so we lift up Zach to you in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. So one of the things I want to talk about as far as clarity, because we're talking clarity today, right? And so how do you begin to get clear? Like what do you think step one is?
So for sure, we have to know what we're passionate about, or find something that we're passionate about, right? And then from there, I think it turns into a purpose for us, and that's where clarity helps us know where we're going to go. And I love your story, right? Like it still might be that you could have been and you could be an appliance guy, but it just didn't. Obviously, it didn't do it for you. It's not feeding you, right? It's not inspiring you. And it's going to be cool to see where you land, but I like your story,
Yeah. And I don't know that it's done. On the bike ride yesterday, I listened to another little fable that probably could have been a poster, called Do Epic Shit. And it's basically the Indian co-founder of Groupon. So like the Indian side of Groupon, he was the co-founder of that. And he talks about these lessons and mistakes he made. And his encouragement to young people is like, get out there and just do a bunch of stuff. Like, just like, don't settle. Like you want to go try this, go try that. You want to go try that, go try that. Because you're not going to figure out what you're passionate about.
Right.
You don't try things. Like if you just plug yourself in, then you become a robot. Yeah. So it's one moment in my entire life. Like like I could be upset. Like, oh man, I can't focus. I can't think. I can't, or I could be grateful that like, because I'm so ADHD and my, resume looks like a receipt from a grocery store. It's like what those CVS receipts, it's just like a laundry list of crap that I've done. But it's kind of helped narrow down my focus to find things that I'm passionate about, that I care about. So yeah, for sure.
Well, and clarity is, I think, even though it's the topic for the week, it's something that we almost always bring up every week because we both have this same sort of mindset. And so it's safe to say that 8 years ago or 6 years ago, you probably didn't have the clarity. You were in the grind, Gordon's appliance, and you were having victories and you were having struggles, but for sure you just didn't have that Sunday morning or afternoon, like, I just need to get on the bike and hit the 30, and that little bump in the road, you probably were stopped and thwarted by those a lot back then.
I mean the story in the description was like my life. Like I was living Groundhogs Day. Like it was get up, do this stupid crap, and just repeat like every day, right? So that's my story, and it's the story of a lot of the guys and gals in this group. I know it is. I've heard them, right? So I know that's not a unique situation. So how do we begin to get off that merry-go-round, right?
So if you love appliances, and you have to be if you're listening to this podcast, right? I mean, why else would you listen to this one? But
I listen.
Yeah, but you love appliances too. You're that's my wife, Val.
She just likes picking on us. That's why she listens.
Yeah. Oh, she just went like that. Yeah. So if you love appliances, then that's it. There's your purpose. And as I told you, before we started, I feel like down the road it becomes branding for you.
Mm-hmm.
Once you know who you are and you're passionate about it, and you begin to build systems and your people know about it and they're drinking the Kool-Aid, it then just becomes your company culture and it becomes branding for you.
If it is margaritas by the pool a hobby, if your name is Saul and you live in Florida, yes, it can be a hobby.
And the right stock investments bought and sold at the right moment could get you there. So, but
I mean, so the reality of some of the stuff, right? And that's what I loved about the book yesterday. He talks about like some of it's just luck. Like some of it literally was just dumb luck. Like he was in the right place at the right time. He got lucky. He had a wife who was smarter than him and didn't listen to anything he said. I'm listening to him and going, grateful for my wife. I'm glad she doesn't listen to me half the time. But yeah, so some of it is dumb luck, but some of it is engineered, right? We have to kind of begin to engineer the success. And passion is a huge piece of that. It drives us to clarity. One of the things that I found, and so this bike race, I'm raising funds and grateful for the people that donated to that. September, I'm raising for another charity. It's to write love on our arms. So if you go to my page, there's actually a direct link to donate to write love on our arms, which is suicide prevention. It's something that's near and dear to me. I've lost a lot of friends to it, but it's a purpose greater than myself. It's stepping outside of myself, and that gives me a little bit of direction. That gives me a little bit of clarity because it's bigger than me. And I think that's a piece that you miss. So, maybe it's not that extreme. Doug, your passion is to serve and to care for people. And it's because you put those people first. It's you're always outside of yourself. It's not about Doug. Right. It's about other people. And so stepping outside and putting yourself in a purpose greater than yourself, that's key,
Yeah, I mean, if anyone here, you guys have a business, appliance business, if you want it to be a place that makes the American dream possible for your employees and to keep your customers going, if that feeds your passion, build your business and build it well. And what a beautiful thing it becomes. It becomes a way of other people experiencing great life, so I guess that's a servant heart for sure. But yeah, that's what we're here for at Action Appliance. We one time we started keeping track of what we knew, how many mortgages are being paid, how many babies have been born and how many people have bought their first house. And it's not to pat ourselves on the back. It's to say when it gets really tough and you start to wonder, is it all worth it? Is the risk worth the reward? Your tank gets filled knowing that people, whether they recognize it or not, we had a small part to play in it, so that makes it awesome.
And that's like the plan, right? Like that's no different than my bike thing. Like I didn't want to get on the bike yesterday.
That's right.
Okay, that's why am I getting on the bike? Because the bike builds on, this 30 miles builds on that. Yeah. Why are we getting up every day and taking the risk? Because this many mortgages are getting paid. This many babies have been born while people have worked here. Like that is the stuff that builds. And when it gets tough, when you just want to give up, there's a plan in place because you understand why you're doing it. So it helps you get really clear. And it helps you begin to make those next plans, right? So we're big on goal setting and stuff like that. So I feel like once you've figured out your passion and once you've kind of figured out what your purpose is, then you can begin to really set some goals. Not that you can't set them before, but like you can really dig in and begin to move mountains, right?
Wouldn't it be perfect? It wouldn't be great if there was just like a perfect formula and you follow it and your problems are at a minimum. But as much as I'm so excited about our purpose and the clarity that we have in serving our employees and our customers, I was just kind of reflecting over the weekend. One of the goals I've had for this year is to find 3 or 4 more techs, and we found one. But I started to tell myself, well, we're in the midst of the busy season with phones, and we've made some changes where I need to put my energy in these new leaders that I put in place, and I put on the back burner a little bit. I got the ad running, I'm watching. I put hiring new people sort of excuses, like what you did where you jumped on the bike. A bunch of times I've said, yeah, I'll worry about that a little bit later. Maybe when it slows down a little bit in August, right? And guess what?
You never do.
There's nothing going on in the pipeline.
Mm-hmm.
I've lost that focus, that clarity of the end of the year, the goal. So I'm sharing that just to make sure you don't think that I'm some blowhard just bragging about things that go well. And it's frustrating because that was one of the goals I set for 2023, and now it's going to come down to the wire, and I might not hit it. Getting 3 more ticks.
Don't you feel it's easier to maintain momentum than get started? Like, don't you feel that once you have that momentum, then it is easy to have clarity?
Absolutely. That's why you got to have a friend like Ginny, who is like obsessed to, in a positive way, about micro goal setting, so that even if you have to take this bigger leap to get from here to there, sometimes it's smaller steps in your to-do list to get something done. Break the bigger leaps down into even smaller bites, so that at least if I do need to take a quick break or I have to take my attention away, I'm still nibbling it away at the smaller size goals. And nothing wrong with hitting 3 small goals in a week's less time. That doesn't mean that I made it too easy. It just, I needed that to survive. So goal setting helps with clarity for sure.
Well, it's easier. I mean, our minds, right? If we want to get into the whole mindset thing, and it's you and I, so we do. When we have this big goal and it's something we've never done, or maybe we've done it, but it's not been as successful as we wanted or whatever. And so we're looking at this huge thing and we're just like, I'm going to do it.
It's a mountain.
Yeah. And then we're just like, I'm going to do it tomorrow, and I'm going to do it tomorrow. And there's a reason for that. It's because our minds can't comprehend. So we create this fantastic vision and we're like, oh yeah, this is what I'm going to do. And then when we get into it, our brains are like designed to keep us safe. And maybe there's not safety in taking a step out and taking a leap of faith and doing this big grandiose thing. And so our minds shut us down. They stop us from taking that next step because it's fear. Like it's whether you believe it or not, like that's the whole Darwin theory there, right? Like we had this primal thing of like, I got to protect myself. I got to stay alive.
Yeah.
And our brains still default to that. Like that's the base level as far as we've come. And so we do this, we plan out this big, huge thing. And then the second it gets scary, our brains go, nope.
Sure.
Let's go back. Let's retreat back to safety. And so what Doug is talking about, these micro goals, it's not this big scary thing. It's like this little scary thing. It's, it's like going after a coyote instead of like a wolf or something, right? Like that's maybe a terrible, but like it's not as scary. You got this wolf that's bigger than you. You got a coyote. It's like a little, little rat with long legs or something. You know what I mean? Like, and so it's just like a little scary. And so your brain can comprehend that and put you into a mode to kind of fight that, right?
Don't you think I've used the word survival, right? And you're right. It's a nature in us that causes us to run, to defend, we might even find energy to be aggressive to protect ourselves. But we're probably talking about protecting where we're standing in the moment, not persevering forward. So I love the word survival, and I bet you, in our industry and other industries of small business, that survival is probably one of the adjectives to describe what a business owner is going through.
It's it's how we end up in the Groundhog Day loop. I mean, it really is. We're like, I'm gonna go do this big thing. Nope, I got to put out all these fires, and if I, you know, if I try and then all of a sudden this stuff is gonna, and then your brain just goes into like all these worst case scenarios, and it's like, whoa, dude, like you can't do that. Nope, stop, stay safe, forget about it. And your brain shuts you down like instantly, and then we end up living the same day over and over and over and over again.
So maybe
it's exhausting.
We haven't really planned it out. I haven't thought about it too much because it was this morning you mentioned clarity was the topic for the week. But you know, I don't know which
I mentioned it last night, but you know.
Oh yeah, it fell out right here. Chicken or the egg? Right? Chicken or the egg? I don't know which comes first. Is it brainstorming out your purpose and who you are and where you want to go, and then as you plan your goals, clarity shows up, or you have a clarity where you want to be, and then you set the goals? I don't know. Maybe we don't have to figure all that out today, but it all is pretty close hand in hand. I think, you know, that you have to do all these things around the same time. Clarity is probably a verb of being aware of where you're at and where you're heading to.
I was going to say, I don't think there's a necessary order to it. I think a lot of it happens. It's like an and or statement, right? Sure. Like it's both. Both are happening simultaneously. Because as you begin to figure out your purpose and as you begin to figure out your passion, then you begin to kind of get a little more clarity. As you get more clarity, then your passion and your purpose kind of become a little more like it's happening simultaneously, I feel.
Okay. All right. Because the thing about this, like big decisions we make in our business, right? In our industry, maybe a competitor's closing down and he wants to sell you his phone number or sell you his business. You know, it could be a small purchase, it could be a big purchase, but without clarity and knowing where you're heading, you don't really know if this is the right thing for you. Same thing with hiring employees. If you don't have a clarity and a purpose of where you're going and who you are, when you hire them, if they're really good, you might be setting them up for failure because they're going to come into chaos potentially. Or maybe you hire the wrong person because they're not fitting into where you're heading or who you are. And that clarity is important in being able to filter out your decision-making, right? Can you think of other places that clarity is so important to us?
I got stuck on they may not be the right people. It's not that they might be the right people for that time. I forget who it was. Might have been Jim Collins talks about it. People get on and off the bus all the time. And so as you become more focused and more clear in where you're heading, people might get off the bus. And that's okay. I think we need to get better at letting go when it's time for people to get off the bus. And I say this as someone who is not great at letting go when people are getting off the bus, right?
But I'll tell you something, Zach. You're talking about the means to get where you want to go. If you want to generate a certain amount of revenue or you need to cover a certain amount of expense, somebody who may not be a perfect fit could get you there. But it does take a lot of energy to help people get off the bus, you know. And it's the question is do you want to get there on solid ground, or do you want to get there any way you can and then adjust or fix after? And I bet you of the 12 people that listen every week, we might be talking about everybody. There could be people relating to each of those scenarios. I mean, I'd say that's where action's at, is we have some people that have been here a really long time and they don't necessarily fit into who we are, but it's hard to break that away. You know, it's not easy. So
yeah, and you know, I think another piece of that, my brain just there's so many levels to this, but I think as you begin to get clear, then you can learn which direction you're trying to go. And so I feel like there's a ton of people out here who are like, okay, I'm a one-man show and I want to have like all these people. And they might get to 2 or 3 people and they're like, wow, this is a lot of work. Yes, it is. It's a lot of work. You have to make sure that you have that passion and you have that bigger drive. Like, you know, how many babies were born, how many mortgages were paid. Like, you have to have this bigger scope to be able to accomplish that. And so that's one of those moments I feel like you need to know before you jump into it. Like, do I really want this? Do I want, because the reality is it's more work. You know, let's ask Mark Kelly. He's had to let people go. He's got a good sized organization. Like, you don't get there without wanting to be there, but when you get there, it's a lot of work. Like, obviously Jay has a bunch of people working with him. Like, you have to, there's work involved in making that happen, right?
Yep.
So I think that's a moment where it's important to be clear if that's a direction you want to head.
Clarity definitely helps you make decisions that are difficult. Again, I love how you started out with your ride. I mean, it wasn't the most difficult decision to make, but it was a difficult decision after a busy weekend to just completely justify. You could probably get a doctor's note. You probably could have reached out to your doctor and said, this is what was going on. I didn't get a lot of sleep. Yeah, you should take a rest, Zach. And you could have presented yourself with a doctor's note, but you didn't. Right. And you didn't. And so that's on a scale of 1 to 10. That's what I asked you. You know, it was probably like a 3 or something like that. Cause your race is coming up this Saturday, right?
Saturday. Yeah.
If it was the race was coming up in 6 months, would you have maybe been willing to sacrifice the 30-mile ride 6 months ago?
Oh, it's, I mean, for
sure. Oh, I can totally fit that in. And that's where life starts to get out of control for you. That's where I don't have the other 3 techs that I was hoping to have by the end of the year. And I still have a quarter to go, but at least halfway would have been nice. And maybe momentum will throw 2 people my way. But it's all about managing our time, and the clarity helps us stay on track, right?
It does because, and that's the other thing. Like, 6 months ago, had I skipped a training ride, like, I know when you have a plan, when you have a focus, if you miss that ride, it does actually make a difference. It doesn't seem like it in the moment, right? You're like, it's not a big deal, right? Oh, it's not a big deal. I missed the goals the first 3 quarters of the year. It's not a big deal. And then you're in the last quarter of the year and you're going,
okay, so wow. So Zach, you're telling me that this past Sunday's ride is equivalent to 6 months ago on a Sunday. You looked at it as a very impactful moment where you needed to stay on track. And you're totally right. I mean, for us who like to want to lose weight, we keep putting off the start date, or we keep saying we'll restart. It's all mind games, isn't it? So that's so cool, Zach, that you 6 months ago would have been in the same mode as you were this past Sunday. And that's why I keep training wheels on my bike. I just don't even mess around.
This is where we peel the layers off and we go into the honesty. 6 months ago, me did blow it off, right?
Oh, you did? Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha. All right.
You know, I come into winter season, and winter in Chicagoland sucks. And like, nothing in me wants to go outside and run. Nothing in me wants to, I can take the winter off. I can. And it's really hard to get started again.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden you find yourself in a spot that you don't want to be in. That's why I brought up the momentum earlier. Like, don't you find it easier to keep the momentum than try and start again? Right. Yeah. And so for me, taking the winter off, and then I got to try and start. So 6 months ago, me is like, nope, not doing it. Not getting on the bike. Nope.
I mean,
I'll sit on the couch all day.
That's classic, typical human nature, you know, and it's just about when you decide in your brain, I don't have any more free pass collect 200 and go. I don't have any more of those free tickets anymore. I have to get buckled down now. And so I love, like Kurt. I got to finally meet Kurt at ASTI, and he's only 5'3", guys. Did you guys know that? Like, he looks like he's a big guy, but he's very, very short. And when you look down at him, don't stare too long because he gets very angry. But I see Kurt, and I've talked to him. He's balancing work and family so much. And so as far as clarity goes, I'd love to have Kurt come on sometime and talk about his story, because I think he's got a good sense of clarity himself. So other than him being very short, it's weird, but you never would have thought that about Kurt.
I still wouldn't think he's short. He's and shoulders above me.
All right, Kurt, I hope you're not going to ASTI. If you are, just let me know what room you're in. I'll avoid the wink. No, but Kurt's the guy. I watch him on Facebook, and I've talked to him. The guy's he's one of many of us who are trying to balance not only work but home and hobbies, right?
Poor Gasper.
Oh yeah,
poor Gasper. Oh, G Money, we love you, man.
Don't worry, I'll let you know when you're starting to lose hair, Gasper. I'll tell you.
Yeah, it's just keep the momentum, guys, and if you don't, like, if you fall off, it's okay. Like, that's why I shared. Like, that's why I'm glad you're kind of like, yeah, 6 months. No, no, real Zach is. Nope, I fell off that wagon. But the great news is, like, with the right mindset, with the right vision and clarity, you can get back on. It does take some work, right, to get back into it. It was not easy to hop back on the bike and, like, start grinding again. It takes time to build that up. It takes energy. It takes extra energy to build that up. But then once you get going, it is easy to make the choices like I did on Sunday and just get back out there. So if you're in a spot in your business where you've kind of fallen off and you've lost that momentum and you feel like you're just going around in a circle, it's all right. Take a breath, reset. You know what's important, and take those little micro goals, take those little steps. Then it's not this big scary thing, and just build back up. It's going to take time. It's going to take work. There's no denying that. Like, there's no easy button in this.
But you know what, Zach, I've never written a book. I'm not that smart. I haven't read anything about this, but I'm going to make that's coming from Mike Carson from Chicago. Sheesh, nice. I mean, what is nice to Chicago people, right? Is I think if you don't have a goal set, a big goal that you're excited about, I feel like staying on track, seeing the clarity, because clarity is trying to see a clear picture of where you're heading, right? And so if you don't have a good big goal or goals to make for the year, I think it's probably hard, like if I want to lose weight or something, the goal has to be, I want to see my grandchild, right? That's the big, huge goal. And then all of a sudden, it's not just about exercise and eating. It's about going to the doctor. It's about getting tests and being checked regularly, to be preventative, right? None of that's on my radar right now, preventative, but I think if I set that goal and you get excited about that goal, the micro goals in between make more sense. They make more sense.
It's right back to where we started. Like, it's your goals have to be outside of yourself.
Yeah.
Do a 50-mile race. Unless you're Rob Jones, that guy just does 50 miles to do 50 miles. Right. Love you, Rob. But like, it has to be outside of yourself. So, like, that, that's a perfect example of life. Like, I want to get healthy and lose weight. I'll do it tomorrow. I'll do it tomorrow. Right. And then suddenly tomorrow it's like, I'm not going to be around to see my grandkids. Crap. Okay, well, maybe I should do something. Like, you're taking it outside yourself, and then you're able to do it. Same thing applies in business. Yeah, I'm doing this to make money. You know how far that's going to carry? I'm I'm going to run a business and I'm going to have employees to make money.
Yeah.
That's going to carry you till Friday.
Yeah. Or I want to retire. I want to start a business so I can retire. It's such a good analogy though, Mike. And I think because I've met a lot of us guys at conferences and stuff, we're all many of us are a bunch of chubby dudes. So I think the analogy is pretty good, hand in hand. You know, we might even be better at business than we are at managing our weight. So we need that benchmark to keep us going, right? Hey, I'm fat, but at least I'm running my business well. See, that's what I say.
Oh man. No, but it like set those micro goals.
Yeah.
And you'll begin to get clear. Step outside of yourself because you want to make it to more than Friday. I mean, really, like you just want to make it to more.
Jasper just
Friday.
proclaimed, he just made a proclamation. but
again, like all these things, like none of you are stuck where you're stuck. It's all about the choices that we make. And it's no different in business. That's why it is such a good analogy, because it is no different. If you're feeling stuck in your business, you aren't stuck. It is going to take some work and you will get out of it. Like it's going to be step by step, but you'll get there. And then once you get that momentum, man, just keep going. Keep that gas pedal down.
But Zach, community is key, right?
Yeah.
Community, I mean, what we have here in this group is a community for encouragement, for great ideas, you know, a peer group or mastermind group if you need to be in one, even if, you know, or a mentor or something. You need other people to share your goal with and your micro goals with, and they can help you with that clarity when you're trying to live them out.
You want to know why it's easy to fall off the exercise wagon? Like if you don't have a group around you, it's no different, right? Like I'm not talking to Rob. I'm not talking to these other guys that are out there doing stuff. I'm not engaged in that community that's holding me accountable. It's really easy to skip a Sunday, right? Like it's really easy to skip a ride, and no different in business. I missed that goal. It's okay. No big deal. When you have a community around you, it's a lot harder to miss that goal.
All right. Does this community apply, Zach? I have a great idea. If I start a local Dunkin' Donuts exercise club, right? And we like all meet at one place and walk to a Dunkin' Donuts for a donut. And then we like try to do as many Dunkin' Donuts, because there's a lot of them around here. And we just do a tour where we eat a half a dozen donuts, but we've walked 12 miles. Does that work?
Self-defeating. Next week, I'm putting up the donut cover, buddy. I'm putting up the donut cover next week.
All right.
Guys, hopefully this has been helpful. Hopefully you got something out of our prattling, but begin to set those micro goals, find that purpose, and clarity does come step by step. So see you next time on the grind, guys.
Have a great week, everyone.
Peace.